Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at an awesome theme team in the Great League, the Elemental Monkey theme team. This team features Simisear on the lead, Simipour as the safe switch, and Simisage as the closer. I finally got access to all three regional monkeys at the Seattle Go Fest, so I figured I may as well try them out together in a team. This is absolutely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, but I was able to get some glorious wins. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out the Elemental Monkeys in action in the Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a great lead, Simisear into Venusaur. Opponent safe switches into Sableye, and honestly, I don't have a great counter here. So I'm just going to stay in with the Simisear and fire off the Crunch, hoping for the debuff. Crunch gets the shield, and it ends up being a CMP tie. None of the Elemental Monkeys are particularly tanky, so I am going to shield up the Foul Play, and then switch in Simisage. Simisage not quite able to reach the Crunch, and I'm going to be hit with a move. Foul Play, massive damage. I'm going to fire back with the Crunch. I'm really hoping they decide to let this go so I can keep switch advantage. Crunch gets shielded, and unfortunately Sableye is able to win switch. I bring in Simisear, and I'm just going to look for the farm down here and hope that with an energy lead, I can take on whatever they have in the back. They aggressive switch Venusaur. Venusaur going for the Frenzy Plant, but they lose CMP. Simisear reaches the Flamethrower, charbroiling the Venusaur, and we'll have to see what they have in the back. We know they have the very low health Sableye. They bring it in. I bring in the Simipour. Simipour is able to farm down. In the back, they have Registeel, and I do have a nice energy lead on Simipour here. Maybe this is possible. I fire off the Surf. The question is, can I get to the second Surf here? Simipour is able to get to the second Surf. That is huge. That's going to be getting this Registeel quite low. The question is this farm down range? It's going to be very close. I need 3 fire spins to kill here. 1, 2, third one able to KO, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Simisear into Galarian Stunfisk. Not the greatest lead ever. Rock Slide and Earthquake would do massive super effective damage, so I farm up and save switch into Simipour. Simipour should be able to tank any one move here, but not super well as that Earthquake does massive damage. They bring in Walrein and they're looking for the farm down. I'm able to reach a last second Crunch, but Walrein is able to shrug off that damage no problem and commit to the farm down. And now Walrein leaves with a ton of energy. I bring in Simisear. This is a tough call to make. I respect the potential Earthquake, and I get baited with an Icicle Spear. That is quite unfortunate. I'm going to be firing off another Crunch, hoping it can land, and it does. I'm able to take down the Walrein. In the back, they have Altaria, and I concede the match. Hopping into the next match, leading Simisear into Trevenant. This is a pretty decent lead so long as I'm able to correctly shield Shadow Balls. They are going to be able to outpace me, and I have a tough call to make. I shield, and it's the Shadow Ball. They say switch into G-Fisk, and I'm going straight for the Flamethrower, hoping for the no shield, and we get it! Massive damage onto the G-Fisk. In comes Simipour to Water Gun down. They're only going to be able to reach a Rock Slide. I tank that no problem, and I'm able to farm down. I'm expecting to see that Trevenant coming back in here. It is pretty low on health though, but they actually bring in their final Pokemon, which is Empoleon, and they have a pretty aggressive farm down ahead of them. So I'm just going to keep spamming out Crunch after Crunch here. The first one does get shielded, and I'm able to reach a second one. This will be getting that Empoleon quite low if they decide to let it through. A little bit of lag, and they commit the final shield. I'm hoping that Simisage can live a Drill Peck here. This is going to be close. I let it go. Drill Peck, massive damage. Simisage able to hang on. I bank the Crunch, and I bring in Simisear. Simisear looking for the farm down. Not quite able to get there. I believe I can farm down and leave with a move here. Simisear has the Crunch, and we're able to get it off. This should be taking down the Empoleon, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, leading Simisear into Shadow Kanto Ninetales. Fairly neutral lead, and I'm more than happy to stay in, because hopefully that means I can keep the Ninetales away from my Simisage in the back, and hopefully Simisage will have a lot of play in the endgame. They go for the Weather Ball, and I'm going to fire back with the Crunch. Crunch is going to hit for some heavy neutral damage. Not enough to KO, but it does a sizable amount of damage. They're going to be able to outpace and win the Zero Shield, but honestly, that's fine. I'm just going to let it go and get farm on Simipour, but they do not want me to get the farm down as they save switch into Sableye. And this makes me think that it could be double Ghost with Trevenant in the back, and if that's the case, I'm not going to shield the Simipour, and I'm going to put all my faith into Simisage. I go for the crunch, I get the shield, and I do get the defense drop. I'm thinking if I can farm all the way down here in double shield, hopefully I can farm down the Ninetales as well, and then leave with 100 energy to be able to handle the Trevenant. I am going to have to double shield here. I'm hoping that the Ninetales is going to be in farm down range. We're going to have to see. Able to farm down. They should bring in the Ninetales. It's not in farm down range. I panic and I fire off a crunch. I'm hoping that I will still have enough HP remaining to take out what I'm expecting to be a Trevenant in the back, and it is the Trevenant. I'm firing off the crunch. Crunch gets the shield. I realize I'm going to be taken out. I switch in the Simipour, and I lose the match. Hopping into the next match, picking up a great lead, Simisear into Shadow Victory Bell. They save switch into Sableye, and I respond with my Simisage. Simisage able to reach the crunch, hoping we can land the crunch and or get a debuff. Crunch does go unshielded, but we don't get the debuff. I will have to double shield, but I should be able to farm down, and that means that I can keep switch advantage, which is really nice because I need to keep my Simipour away from that Shadow Victory Bell. I do need to double shield, but I'm able to farm down and leave with some energy. Back in comes the Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm going straight for the Crunch. Crunch will not KO, but it will do massive neutral damage. Victory Bell looking for the farm down. I'm able to reach the last second Crunch, and honestly, I'm hoping for a shield here. They decide to let it go. In the back, they have Bastiodon, and 2-shield Bastiodon is honestly quite scary because my team is exceedingly frail. I'm going to be firing off the Surf before they're able to reach the Stone Edge. Surf gets the shield. Farming up, not able to get to a second one. That is quite unfortunate. This Stone Edge will KO, but they're running Flash Cannon. Opponent, for some reason, is running Flash Cannon instead of Stone Edge, and maybe we have a chance here. I do get farmed down. On the off chance they're running Flash Cannon and Stone Edge, though, I have to watch for a potential move. So I farm up, I go for the catch, and I fail it. But we're still able to reach the Flamethrower. This Bastiodon did not have Stone Edge. We find the win con, and that is a good game. Interesting lead in the next match, Simisear into Sneasler. Sneasler does hit extremely hard, but it is very, very frail. I build up, and they're firing off a move. I'm going to call it just an X-Scissor, and I'm going to fire off the Crunch. While Crunch is resisted here, Sneasler is incredibly glassy. Crunch is able to get a shield from Sneasler. I'm looking for the farm down here, but I fall just short, and I'm going to bring in Simipour. I am going to respect a close combat, as that would do massive damage. They fire off the close combat, and they bring in Walrein. Walrein definitely not what I was hoping to see here. I'm going to fire off the Crunch, but as we've seen, Crunch does not do a ton of damage to Walrein. Walrein easily able to absorb that. Tough call to make here. I shield last second, and I do shield the Earthquake. That is an absolutely huge call. I'm going to overfarm and go for the Crunch. Crunch should just about KO from this range. Crunch goes unshielded, and I'm able to take them out. The question is, what do they have in the back? We know they have the very low health Sneasler, and of course, it is Registeel. This is not great. I think at this point, my only win condition is to try and catch a potential Zap Cannon. Surf gets shielded. I switch, and they throw. The question is, did they react fast enough? They did not, and we actually caught a Zap Cannon. Oh my goodness, maybe we have a chance. I'm going to just spam out Crunch after Crunch after Crunch here, hoping for debuffs. Crunch does not get the debuff. Going for the next, and I just fall short. This is going to be a race. Simipour versus Registeel. Who can get to the move first? Come on, Simipour. We get outpaced by a singular turn. Registeel takes us out with a Focus Blast, and we lose a heartbreakingly close game. Hopping into the next match, leading Simisear into a Azumarill Nightmare lead. I save switch into Simipour, and my opponent responds with Sableye. Not the most comfortable matchup ever, but at the very least, I'm able to get to a move first. I fire off the Crunch. Crunch gets the shield, and I get that ever-important defense drop. At this point, honestly, I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to get farmed down by the Sableye, but at the very least, this way, I can kind of hope that Simisage in back is going to be able to close this for me. This is a tough decision to make. They have a ton of energy. I shield up in case it's the return, but it's only a foul play, and they're able to reach a second. That is not great. I'm just going to let this go, trust in Simisage, and my opponent concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, leading Simisear into another Kanto Ninetales. Same game plan as previously. I'm going to stay in and try and do as much damage as possible. They are running the fast move of Ember. I farm up and I'm able to reach the Crunch. This will do a solid chunk of damage here. Crunch does get the shield. Last time the Ninetales ended up baiting with a Weather Ball, so I'm going to call another Weather Ball here. But I get hit with a Psyshock and they're able to take me out. I'm going to bring in Simipour, hope they stay in, but they know better. They end up pivoting into Sableye. I'm going to fire off a Crunch before Sableye is able to reach a move. Crunch does a solid chunk of damage, and then I bring in Simisage. At this point, I probably need to be protecting Simisage if it's Trevenant in the back, but for some reason, I decide to no shield. Apparently at the time, I was pretty confident it was not going to be Trevenant in the back. So I do shield up the foul play, and I'm able to farm down. I leave with a move loaded, back in comes the Ninetales. I'm going to be firing off the Crunch. Crunch takes down the Ninetales in the back. Thankfully, it's not Trevenant, but it's Shadow Walrein, so things honestly not looking much better for me. I am going to be firing off the Crunch. Crunch would do a solid chunk of damage if it lands. We get the shield, and now I think my win con is I have to shield an Earthquake. I shield up, but my opponent is smart. They know they can just go straight Icicle Spear, and unfortunately this game will be over, as this is the Earthquake. Earthquake takes down the Simipour, and that is a good game. Hopping into the final match, leading Simisear into Shadow Beedrill. Very nice lead. Opponent save switches into Walrein, and I'm going to stay in here and fire off a Crunch. I don't have a fabulous response to a Walrein, so I'm going to go for the Crunch to hopefully get some chip damage or get a shield, and then bring in Simipour. At the very least, Walrein cannot hit for super effective damage onto Simipour. I shield up, and I end up correctly shielding the Earthquake. That is quite nice. I'm going to be firing off another Crunch. This won't be enough to KO, but it will be getting that Walrein low as they let it through, and I get a defense drop as well. I'm going to shield up, because if I shield the Earthquake here, I will be able to farm down and leave with a ton of HP remaining. This way, when they bring in the Shadow Beedrill, I have a lot of room to be able to reach back-to-back Surfs. Going for the first, gets the shield, come on Simipour, get to the second, and they fire off an X-Scissor just before I'm able to get there. Very nice counting by my opponent. X-Scissor will be enough to take me out. They blind switch, and they bring in Stunfisk. Had they stayed in, they probably could have won and just gone straight Drill Run, but they immediately switch out, and that gives me a potential win con. I'm able to farm up on Simisear, and then bring in Simisage. Simisage is going to get hit with the second Rock Slide. That gets it low, but it is able to reach the Grass Knot. This will do a nice amount of damage onto the Stunfisk. Stunfisk going for the farm down. They get it. Do they have a move? They do not. We leave with the move loaded, and that is a good game. All in all, this team was an absolute blast to run. This is definitely not a team I'd recommend for climbing, as it has a tremendous amount of weaknesses, but being able to run all three elemental monkeys and actually get some wins was an absolutely incredible feeling. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.